gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know that I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. But you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, the little manager. What's poppin', Brian?
What's going on?
How you feeling today?
Good. You watch any of those games yesterday?
Only the ones with student managers coming out with boomboxes.
I was going to say, if we're talking managers, Brian got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it's true.
My man up here in McNeese, he's you try to hype, but like he's the real hype.
He's
man.
the real
that
one?
dude.
Yeah, he's the real deal. If anybody didn't see yesterday, there was an upset. Is it McNeese State or just McNeese? Doesn't matter.
McNeese State.
I think it's McNeese State, but they beat Clemson.
It doesn't matter.
This is a 12-5 matchup, I think.
I think so. Clemson's a bunch of bums. Absolute bums.
Apparently.
What's the backstory on this guy? This is just the team manager?
He's been doing this all year.
Apparently, all right, start from start to finish. Roll the clip of him leading the walkout so everybody can get a real feel for the vibes that he brings.
Is it right here?
Yeah, that's it.
I dropped out of school, started selling dog food, kept the biggest pistol even though I was a small dude. I get your block hot, 50 shots out this AK, you diss on my name, you get smoked on the same day. We do a hit, we hit your block same way. You niggas broke, tell me how y'all want a gang bang. Right around with two baby Ninas, I feel like Mac Crack, serving cane, baby, I'm traveling, I'm selling nasty, I got it on my back. I know these niggas have to give me show up on the Mac. You better know I got it with me, bang on your head, they some new tickets, starting on these niggas, bad like it got it deal with. Pillow talk the bitch, you know she still let me hit it, pistol to the part, security let me in with. Coming out the block, but the Louis with this effort, cruise out the block where I'm listening in a minute, man. We gon' put this house shit on you.
I'm feeling his vibe.
He looks like me at a school dance. You don't really got to do much. You just got to know the lyrics.
Yeah.
Just kind of vibe a little bit.
You know what I noticed when I watched this?
What?
There was a goddamn white person on that team. So I went to go look where the team was from. Louisiana.
Yeah. He seems to have not gotten his pass either. He's very good at,
Yeah, I saw that too.
catching the.
He was raised right, you know?
That's right.
Amir Khan.
Yeah, you just got to hit that pause in there. Get the hard pause
Yeah.
instead of the hard R like Conrad likes to drop from now on.
Conrad.
You're a hard R.
No.
Wow. Wow.
I don't think he's
I'm a hard R.
So apparently this turned into the first NIL deal in college sports history for a team manager.
Hey, man. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Apparently he's getting paid as they win. So each game they win in the bracket,
Yeah,
he gets paid.
This is like the dude who like washes laundry and shit.
This is a Cinderella story I'm here for.
That's exactly. So apparently he has a deal with Buffalo Wild Wings and Insomnia Cookies.
Wow.
If you cut to that post game interview that I sent, you'll see him repping the Buffalo Wild Wings here.
He is Aura. Amir Khan. Your McNeese Cowboys just pulled it off. They beat Clemson. What were you thinking? What were you thinking as that clock went to 0?
We got our first win in school history, So McNeese is the hometown school, and, for us to get a win in March Madness, it means the world to me.
What was the boombox blast in pregame?
No Switch by NBA Youngboy.
Will that be back Saturday, or there'll be a total switch up again?
We really don't know. Everything we do is
We got the boombox out now.
Yeah, it is. It's right there, Right there.
With Wild Wings here. Here we go, man.
Put it on. So
I love Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm a big fan too, so for me to have this, it means a lot.
What is it like being with? What's this guy like for you guys? What's he mean to you?
Yo, talk to him. He's Aura. This is Aura right here.
Tell me what he means.
This is really my man. Hey, this my man. Hey, he be in the gym early every day. He getting rebounds. Like, he for real. When he said he had Wilt Chamberlain numbers, he really lived by that. Like, for real. Like, tell him, boy, pop it. Like, that's not cap.
Why isn't this boombox playing in here right now?
Because, like, he letting it rest right now. Like, you feel me? He do a lot, so right now I got to rest. You feel me?
Caribbean jerk, Thai curry, garlic parm, spicy garlic. Go get your Buffalo Wild Wings. It's sponsor of Amir.
Let's garlic parm. No joke.
And look, and they got French fries and onion rings and mozzarella sticks.
Mozzarella for you, man.
Yeah, it means a lot. You know, I never expected any attention really as a manager. You know, so to receive all the love and support I received over the last few weeks, it means a lot to me. You know, but I'm really just focused on trying to do what I do for the team and helping them so they can do what they can on the court.
You've got Wild Wings, Insomnia cookies. Any others?
Well, I had Tick Pick. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
The business is rolling.
Yeah, it definitely is. But it's because of these guys. It's because of the team.
I was jumping on OnlyFans or something afterwards. Imagine being an 11 or 12 seed, whatever they are, finally getting to the dance, getting your first win in NCAA school history. And they're interviewing the manager afterwards.
Well, that's why.
And they're like pushing him forward.
Yeah, because that's the reason.
Talk to him.
That's the reason why they're there. I mean, when it comes down to it, when you have somebody like he's hyping them up, he's getting them fucking like the way that you can tell by the way that they did the interview and like they're just like completely hyping him up.
Yeah,
that he is literally their aura. Like he is the body of that team.
We might have to get some national attention on timestamp bros.
Let's go.
Just get the timestamp lineage out there. Really, just get them some shine. Shout out to Nick, nasty Nick, if you will. Young Landon out there in the Dominican. No, where's he at? Costa Rica.
Apparently
in the
sipping
jungle.
on wine now, huh?
Apparently, kids just
said it tastes like a dryer sheet smells.
Kids just succumbing to peer pressure.
It's an acquired taste.
Wait, he's sipping on wine, you said?
He tried wine because his girlfriend peer pressured him because he's a, little simp. I mean, you don't come to the show, you get called out.
That's
like,
true.
What are you gonna
This
do?
is true. I can only imagine what you said about me the last 2 weeks.
What I say? Name the lie. Spot the lie.
I have nothing to say.
Exactly.
He's spreading his wings, man. He's fine.
Yeah, he's spreading his wings. All right. Hope you enjoy the jungle, little buddy. We have a fun show today. We're going to be joined close to the top of the hour by one Vlastimil. He is affectionately referred to as Vlastimil, as he tends to, or sorry, let me rephrase, Vlastimil. I
was going to say.
As he tends to rocket it off right at the Bellagio game. We're going to talk to him a little bit about today's conversation, which is finding simplicity in complication. I said that backwards. Finding simplification in complexity. So effectively, like what led me down this path was not poker related at all. I was watching like some Instagram reels yesterday. Came across this guy that I follow, Jason Wilson, who is an author, and he runs, I believe it's a martial arts studio for children, not children, but like youth, specifically boys. And his whole messaging is geared towards young men and adults, and it's kind of like leaning towards the idea that in life there's strife, and there are two ways to approach it. You can take it head on, acknowledge it, and be present during it, or you can suppress everything and just kind of like bottle it up and put your head down and grind. And
is this the gentleman here, Matt?
Yeah, this is it. So his first book was Cry Like a Man, I believe. Really great read. His other ones since then that I've read, they're a little bit redundant, I would say. But the first one was really great. And I think like what he's doing for youth is really good because it reminded me, and I'm sure that Lamanna, you can relate to this since we had a lot of the same coaches growing up. And Carmen, I don't know what your sports history was like, but I'm sure they'll say some things that sound familiar. But growing up, it's like, in youth sports, you just get a random volunteer dad.
Yeah.
And, you get the spectrum. You get the really supportive guy that you're 8 to 12 years old, whatever. He's giving you a high five, telling you could do it. Kurt Enrico.
Go get him, Tiger.
Yeah. Kurt Enrico. He was the best cheerleader on earth. Like nobody could fail around this guy. He was so uplifting and just like really encouraging. Just the goat of all goats. And this guy is fucking yoked to the gills, just shredded. He has this dog on a diet. Like Kurt was living life right,
Yep.
And then you get the whole other end of the spectrum where it's like you get like the Caps or the Fooses of the world that are just like screaming at you and
tough love.
Yeah, they're evoking discipline for the sake of discipline, which is obviously a great thing to learn. As a kid, especially when you're playing a tough sport like Pee Wee football or a game of failure like baseball, whatever. But often both ends of the spectrum kind of lacked overlap from each other, right? Like you very rarely got the hard ass who also showed you support, and you very rarely got the supportive guy who was like a stickler when he needed to be, right? So it's like love Kurt to death, but we ran amok when he was in charge.
Right.
You needed kind of the firm hand. He was the mom, if you will. And, same thing like Pee Wee football was like, it was one of the most difficult things I did at that age. I was still like fat and out of shape and everything else.
I think about like baseball practice compared to football practice or like, like just going through the season, how different it was.
Games were such a relief during football. Right? It was like such a relief to finally like just be able to play because it was such torture.
Football
throughout the way. Especially like we played with weight classes, so I think like 127 was our weight limit or 129, something like that.
Oh yeah.
This was 10 to 13. And I was hitting my growth spurt. So when I signed up for football, I was like 5'9", 125. And by mid-season, I was like pushing 6 foot, 135. So every week, I'm just running.
I wonder if there were kids that were like trying to cut weight right before like.
Oh yeah, of course,
dude.
I would show up to the game 2 hours early.
Yeah, then you spitting in a cup.
Yeah, to just.
Oh, you had to weigh in before every game.
Bro, I would run for 2 hours before the game.
I forgot
they
about
were
that.
sweating.
They would weigh you in like an hour or 2 hours before the game.
I thought it was just like before the season started. Like, hey, make sure these kids.
No.
I forgot about this, but like
week after week.
When I had started traveling to play football in North Babylon. This was the first time I was introduced to like weight classes and stuff, and I had this kid on my team that was maybe like 6'3". He was huge. He made Danny Green look like a child, and every game he has 3 garbage bags on running before the game.
That was me and Mike Shutt. We both hit our spurt, the growth spurt, so we got taller, and we weren't like 127 wasn't going to be a healthy weight for us. We were twigs by the end of the season. But I remember I wasn't allowed to eat anything but crackers and water the night before. And I wasn't allowed to eat past 8. I would show up. So the game time was noon.
Who was giving you this diet advice?
The coaches.
Crackers and water. I
they
would think
didn't
they're
know any better.
They didn't know any better. Crackers were the worst. Yeah, crackers were the worst.
Salt
thing I
and
could have done.
water?
Well, I mean, to be fair,
you're just going to retain water weight.
That's not a good idea.
To be fair, though, it's like the alternative would be becoming dehydrated and then playing a game after.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so I basically showed up after a 12-hour fast at like 10 a.m. for a 12 o'clock kickoff. I would weigh in immediately then, not officially. And if I was still overweight, I was fasted and dehydrated at this point. I would have to run. So you're just jogging with 20 layers on, sweating your dick off for hours until you're pushing. And there were times where like it would come down to like a half pound near kickoff. It's like 11:30 and you're like 128 and a half.
That's so brutal.
And you're just like trying to piss and do whatever you can.
Fighters get like 24 to 36
they get 24
hours to like
right.
rehydrate, get their wits about them.
So like I had 20 minutes.
Contact sport. So if you're dehydrated and you're banging your head around, it's so dangerous.
And it's year 1. So I'm also learning everything as I go. Like I'm learning the position, I'm learning the playbook. So cognitively, you're not exactly all there when you're not fit. So you get like this 30-minute window.
You only wanted to play 1 year.
I just wanted to play defense. Yeah. And that was the other thing. Like I was a defensive tackle. And I would just constantly shoot the gap and sack the quarterback or disrupt the play in the backfield. And I would get screamed at. Going back to the discipline aspect, I would get screamed at every time I did this, and I never understood what I was doing wrong. I was supposed to box the tackle, right? So the idea is like the lineman, like the defensive line engages with the lineman, which then opens up the gaps for the linebackers when they're blitzing. And I would disrupt that because I would shoot the gap, and then the lineman would just block the linebacker or whatever. So if I don't make the play, there's no second layer.
Right.
But I didn't understand that at 11.
Right.
So I'm just getting screamed at. I'm like, what did I do wrong, man? The quarterback's on his ass. Like, what else am I supposed to do here? You know what I mean? I never understood.
When I still played for like my hometown where I grew up, like their Pee Wee, whatever, I got bored playing cornerback and safety. So I was like, hey, put me on the defensive line. Started fucking these kids up. Good luck, cat to me, buddy. I'm shooting right past you. Sack.
Yeah, that's not the point of a defensive lineman. But like, I agree with you.
That's what I did, though. You know, that was the fun part. That made football fun for me at that age.
I agree. I'm just telling you that like I would get disciplined for these types of things.
No, of course.
And at that age, like you don't really understand. Everything feels, especially like into your teen years, everything feels like an attack on you, right? So it's like if it's not a congratulations, then it's certainly going to be viewed as an attack. And I'm only bringing all of this up because what I found so fantastic about this Jason Wilson post was that he was able to both challenge his students while supporting them with a very definitive like purpose. You know, he was defining a why into why they were doing the hard thing, basically. You know what I mean? I think back to like high school sports, college sports, and stuff like that, where you're just constantly being punished. You know, there's never really a reward. The reward is like, hey, good job and a pat on the ass, right? But you're constantly being negatively reinforced over and over and over again. And that's fine. Look, it makes you gritty. It makes you hard-nosed. It makes you super disciplined. It encourages you not to do the bad thing again. I'm all for all of those principles and developing those traits in people. But when you don't give them a reasoning behind it, when you're just up there, I've been that guy on the track, just running over and over and over again. My punishments weren't like, you stayed out too late or you drank last night. It was never that kind of thing. It was like, you didn't finish the mile in a fast enough time. Hit it again. And I'm like, that's not going to make me go faster, though.
Right.
You know, I'm just being punished for lacking. And, you know, in the moment, everything felt so cruel and unusual. You know, it was like, I remember one time we were doing 220-yard sprints or like eighth mile sprints on the track, and we had to do them in a certain amount of time. And we were running them as a group, as pitchers. This is my freshman year. I was still fat and out of shape. So we're running them, and we had to do 6 in a row. First one, I make the time. Second one, I like barely make the time. Third one, I'm going to miss the time. And, you know, the team obviously suffers. Like, we all suffer together if you don't make the time. So I'm getting, like, dragged across. We barely make it. And I'm like, I have to run 3 more of these. So obviously I fail on the 4th. He's like, add another one. I fail on the 5th. Add another one. I fail on the 6th. Add another one. On the 7th one, I just collapse like midway through the run. Like I just stone black out.
Right.
Stone black out.
If you're getting worse, it's not going to get better by
Exactly. So it's like at the time, it just all felt so cruel, and I didn't understand what was happening. And look, the coach came from a military background. He was just like really pushing you to the limits. And I think that those are all good things. But I think the defining why is so critical. And to make a long story shorter, the way that I view all of this with regards to strategy games, especially complex ones like poker, it's very adjacent to things in life, right? Like those two ends of the spectrum, the really supportive coach or the really hard-assed, you know, gonna be disciplined type of coach, whatever, they're falling into a very obvious simplification, right? So they're trying to take something incredibly complex, be it you know, the virtues necessary to be a man and succeed in life, or be it just stripping it down to the necessities for the type of game that you're playing. You need discipline, you need grit, you need, you know, all of these sort of like principles or virtues about you, right? So you need all these things, and they just try to find the simplest way to onboard it. And the problem is that it's very complex, right? Like these traits are incredibly complex to develop, and they do require a deeper motivation. They require purpose and things of this nature. And I saw like a very obvious parallel between this like sort of like sportification of life itself, and then a complex game like poker. So much of coaching, especially like in the last 10 years with the advent of solvers and, there being this great divide between people that are relatively well-versed in the technology versus people that aren't but would like to be. It appears to me that people are running away from the complexity of it all. And they're all, coaches and students alike, attempting to shift heavily into simplification, but never really putting a defining why behind it or a purpose behind it. And I think what that ends up with, which is very good for the game as a whole, but very bad at the individual level, is a complete and utter misunderstanding of the strategies that you're meant to adhere to, the principles that drive them, the foundations and the fundamentals that are necessary. Everything gets broken down into a mechanical form. And that's why you see concepts like blockers getting misapplied. That's why you see things like bet sizings just being, either overly scrutinized or really, really sloppily applied. Most of this all just stems from the fact that either the person teaching to begin with only understands the outputs, if you will, the sims, whatever the case may be, from a mechanical standpoint, so they can look at something and say, oh, this does this X amount of the time, so we're going to replicate that.
Going back, I'm really happy that you explained an 8-mile sprint, because I thought it was like people. I thought it was people shooting in the air and you just keep running.
I said an 8. You were sitting on that one?
I was.
Jesus Christ.
I was waiting for it.
We need to get you somebody to workshop here. Maybe I would cue the Caitlin video now, but that would disrupt the whole show. So bringing this now full circle to like how it applies to poker and games of strategy, I think simplification is a really powerful tool. I think Nick Howard is a perfect example of that, like what he's done with Detox, where he basically stripped the game down into data and then was able to mine infinite amounts of hands and scenarios and, get pretty confident pool reads based off of how you're able to label people, right? So it's like, say you have 4 categories of player types, archetypes, if you will, and each archetype plays a different split. The loose passive fish plays whatever, really wide VPIP, but really low aggression frequencies, et cetera, and versus that profile type, you can take the bet line without even looking at your cards, that type of stuff, finding those sort of exploits. I think that that's a great way to weaponize data and create simplifications that people are yearning for. And to be fair, like, there isn't really a why behind those things, or at least there isn't a need to define the why, because it's just all in the numbers. It's really more so like, we're not going to try to discern player to player. We're just going to look at their frequencies, and if they fall into this category, then this line work will work against them with impunity, because they have no way to defend themselves. They've already left themselves too exposed, right? So sure, on the margins, when they make slight adjustments, we're going to lose a little bit of EV, but long term, we're just going to print, and we're never going to have to think, because we're just simply exploiting their tendencies, right? That's really powerful, and those are the sort of simplifications that people are yearning for. It's like, I don't want to have to think about where my hand fits in range. I don't want to have to think about how it interacts with the board texture. I don't want to have to think about how my opponent views me and all the metagame and stuff like that. I just want to know, can I bet my hand and expect to get a fold at a high enough frequency where it's profitable, right? And the issue is, outside of what Nick created with Detox, we don't have that data, especially live. So when somebody comes to you, I say you, the proverbial you, the royal you, if you will. But when a student comes to a coach and says, look, I play live 2-5, I would like to move up in the stakes. I would like to get better at this game. I find it to be incredibly complex. And all I'm looking for is like you to tell me when I should bluff. and you to tell me what sizes I should use when I get value. Any coach worth like their hourly or whatever should reply, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't do that for you because we don't have pool data that suggests that on an ace king high board, you could just triple it off for an overbet and get folds often enough. Now, that may be an example of a spot in live poker where generally you're probably going to see overfolds throughout the streets, but there's a lot of nuance to it. Some pools will drastically overfold the flop. Some pools will drastically overfold the river and like call too many hands flop and turn. You know what I mean? And it's like understanding that nuance will allow you to accrue a lot of bottom line. So it's really, you really have to have some comprehension of the complexity before simplification can take place. And I think that's what's like largely missed in most of the messaging. You know, I've gotten a lot of grief for being hard on Jay Little and, you know, the chance tweets and things of that nature. But I'm not coming from a place of malice. Like, I don't think less of them as people or players or coaches or business owners or anything along those lines. I just think it's very misleading because it doesn't have that level of nuance that allows you to acknowledge that this game's really fucking hard. And you can't just say like, oh, I'm going to overfold this hand because I don't think I can play it well in the next few streets. It's like, well, what you're volunteering is that you don't want to make money. You know, you're just going to fold hands that are making money because it's too hard to figure out how to make money with them. Therefore, moving forward, I'm just going to find the hands that like auto print. And that's going to be my strategy. It's like, well, guess what? If you try to do that, you lose. You just lose.
Yep.
Because like there are too many players in the game that's not their strategy. Their strategy is to take advantage of people that are nut peddling. You know, their strategies are to take advantage of people that too frequently show up in nodes without bluffs. And now they just get to overfold, right? Like the game is very complex at a nuance level, but it's very simple at a basic level. And that's kind of why we use this phrase, it takes a minute to learn and a lifetime to master. The mastery part is what people are so desperately after, but unwilling to actually dig their heels in and learn some things layer by layer. They'd much prefer to just say like, okay, well, when I have an open ender, I can just bet it 3 times. You know, that type of stuff.
It's kind of hard to figure that out, and that's why it's like that.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, it's just, people just want answers.
Right.
When it comes down to it. And I don't know.
Right. Well, what I would suggest is that you're going to want to put that up to your mouth like it's violating you. Yeah. It's like a bad weekend in college, Flast. Not even remotely close. I mean, I'm talking get it in there. All right.
Help him out, Guapa.
You want to grab those headphones too. Yeah, I mean, to that end, like, you know, obviously it's hard, but that's the nature of gambling. You know, if money were free, everybody would do it. It kind of doesn't work that way. We're joined by somebody who loves to make the game hard. Bellagio Reg and a cash grinder from the what is it now? Is it the Czech Republic? I googled it. They said Czechia, or what are you guys calling it these days?
I would say it's still Czech Republic. Czech people slightly hate Czechia.
Okay. Yeah, I Wikipedia said that you guys did it for Americans' sake.
You know, we simplify life for Americans.
Right.
We're simple people.
So. Right. Well, ironically, that's the theme of today's show. And since we are American, the tweet that we put out said Czechia. Although I have to tell you, I've never heard that before in my life. Apparently, It's been a thing for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, it's pretty new. I don't know.
Enlighten me. I'm bad with geography. This is a running joke on the show. My granddad was Czechoslovakian, but that was back when it was all one nation.
I'm sorry, give him 1 second.
Yeah.
What countries do you think border of Czech Republic?
Great question. Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, so I know that it's in Eastern Europe. I know that much. If I had to guess at least one country on the border of Czech, I would guess Poland.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Good
All right,
job.
We're good. Okay. I could have guessed Poland. I could have guessed Hungary.
I was going to say
and
Romania. I would have been wrong.
I could have guessed Ukraine. I don't think I would have guessed Germany and Austria. I don't know why.
Oh, you had clues now.
I see, like, we can only let him go on for so long by himself.
Once I got one correct, they wanted to give me the win. You know?
I just want to give you like a clue that it used to be Czechoslovakia, so now it's Czech Republic. What's the border state?
Yeah, so that's what I don't quite understand. So now that it's the Czech Republic, you guys have divided. Is that correct?
Yeah. It was pretty much like older brother, younger brother.
Right, like at one point it was Czech and Slovakia, right? Like these were two different regions.
Yes, it's like two different states.
Yeah, once that happened, I didn't know what part my granddad was from.
For your sake, it's obviously Czech because it's like the better state.
Okay, so sure. So,
there you go.
Apparently, I'm a quarter Czech and not a quarter Slovakian.
Please don't tell my wife she's Slovak. So.
Right. Now, to be fair, my granddad frequented the Slovakian club when we were kids, so it's possible that he was from the other side.
Maybe. Yeah.
But there was no Czech club, so I don't know. These are just, I don't know if you guys have these. Well, I guess there's no need for it since you're national. But in America, where we're a melting pot, we grew up. There was an Italian club,
Italian American club,
Hungarian club,
Hungarian club, the Slovakian club.
Yep.
You mean like the card clubs?
No, just a place to get drunk with your fellow brethren.
Right.
Oh, there were some Greek ones in North Jersey where everybody played poker.
We didn't have Greek clubs, did we?
I'm sure there was one.
Greek, Italian.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't.
So my granddad was good friends with Brian's dad. Mm-hmm. My granddad was full Slovakian, married an Italian woman. Brian's dad, full Italian. And what happened is because they're friends, but didn't share each other's ethnicity, they would guest each other into their clubs.
Right. So they're valuable places to get drunk.
Yeah, and I, as a 12-year-old who had both Italian and Slovakian, got a guest pass with them. Yeah. So I would go and I would eat Cheetos and watch cable TV, right? While Lamanna's dad and my granddad would go tie one on. You know,
that's strong.
Those are the days. I first drove in 14. My granddad was way too drunk.
Right. Yeah.
He was way too drunk. He's like, take the wheel.
14-year-old kid who's never driven before.
Never touched a wheel in my life.
Probably has a better chance of getting the car home.
What's worse, your granddad letting you drive or nobody being home at my house at 13 and there was just a car, so we just took it every day?
Probably the latter.
But you have to be Czech because Slovak people drink slightly more and you don't drink, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah, but you know,
But his grandfather.
I'm a byproduct of prior generations doing everything.
Yes.
So you know, they exhausted the amount of drug and alcohol abuse possible, and I was just kind of like, yeah, maybe not for me.
You could belong to our state.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
It's called like a meth capital. It's like the Prague.
Oh, that's like Leechburg.
Yeah.
So if you watch the Breaking Bad, they even mentioned Prague, and they did some meth trade.
Oh, interesting. Oh, well, that's something to hang your hat on, Vlast.
You can look at me, right?
Do they call it meth there?
No, it's called Pervitin, but
Pervitin.
Same thing, yeah.
I forgot what it's called. Oh, my God. I used to play in this game in Jersey City, and they're Vietnamese, and I completely forget. It's blowing my mind.
They're what, Connor?
They're Vietnamese.
Vietnamese.
Try that one more time.
Whatever, man. You know what the fuck I'm talking
Vietnamese.
About. That's what I said.
No, you said Vietnamese.
You said something.
Who gives a fuck?
Words came out.
Anyway, fuck. It was on the tip of my tongue, but I completely forgot what they call it. Shabu? Something like that. And
whatever it is, you're going to mispronounce it. So
I knew there was a different name for it. But anyway, go on.
All right, back to our guest at hand. Give us a little bit of backstory here before I bring you into the loop of what we're talking about today. How did you get into poker first and foremost, and then what led you to America?
I would say it was like a huge mistake.
Getting into poker or coming to America?
No, I love America.
He has to say that.
Right.
I'm in the visa trial, so I love America.
Right, yeah.
No, I was studying law, and I was pretty much bored. And when we mentioned like drinking states in Czech or like Slovak, majority of my roommates was Slovak back in the days at dorms. You pretty much drinking 4 or 5 times a week, like a standard college student. And one day, just introduced me, hey, let's play something. I was like, yeah, sure. I used to love all the games in the world. And we're like, yeah, let's play poker. I was like, wow. And it's somehow something like a click, you know, it was just amazing. Clearly, I win my first tournament.
Right.
We played like $2 tournament, so it was like a bunch of money for me back then. And yeah, we started playing more often. Great things about like law students is everybody thinks they're the smartest guys in the room.
Right.
so like lawyers, they're like only comparable as it's like math students and maybe like atomic physics. Everybody else is just fucking dumb. So
that's true here too, by the way.
Yeah, I would bet like it's like similar traits.
Oh yeah.
So we made like a law school poker league, something like it. So I started to play with my schoolmates, and somehow realized I'm way better than them. So it was my part-time job.
How long ago was this?
12 years ago, maybe.
Okay, so like 2030. So post Black Friday, but not that really affected you that much. Were you playing online as well?
No, like I was just playing with my fellow students. Huge things about law is like everybody has such a huge ego, so nobody is able to admit it's dumb.
Right.
They still play, you know, like so even if it was like clear winners, they still play.
Yeah.
So they, like a friend of mine who was living like upstairs, he played online and took me to the first casino. I lost all my savings. You understand, like $200.
It happens, right.
But I called my sis that, you know, says I lost all my money. I have no money to pay rent. Can you please send me money? And she sent me money and say like, don't fucking do it again. I was like, yeah, sure. So
you did it again.
So I did it again after some time. Again. And I was working in law office, and somehow just walking around poker table. I was like sitting like old people and was just observing. I was like, yeah, it's interesting. I downloaded all the materials which was online and started reading. I was like walking around. Mistake. This is not like, this is dumb, you know. I'm not good, but this is dumb. So I was like walking like.
Where were you playing these games at, or seeing these games? I guess.
Prague casino, very local.
Is this like Kings or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
Kings is on the borders with Germany.
Oh, okay.
They just pretty much built the Kings because of the legislature of Germany. So in Germany, there is state is controlling casinos.
Oh, okay.
So Leon poured it on like directly on the. You just step over the line.
Yeah.
So build a casino under the Czech license for the Germany.
Yeah. There's a casino like this in Arizona where they are right on the border, and the card room is in California, and the casino side is in Arizona, because California doesn't have casino licensings, and Arizona, at the time anyway, didn't have poker.
This is the same thing for Indiana and Chicago. Well, now Chicago has a bunch of casinos, but it's literally a half a mile past the border.
Right, yeah.
So I just jumped to the cash games and pretty much started winning from the start. I was going to my boss and telling him, hey man, you know, I would like to take a month break and just I want to play poker in casino. And he looked at me like, whatever, dude.
Nice knowing you, kid.
Whatever, dude. Just call me after a month or I'm going to call you. He actually likes me because he like took me from the previous law office. So we were like very good relationship. He was also like a successful businessman. So it was like, yeah, whatever, follow your dreams. Something like it was like, yeah, you're gonna be back pretty soon.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I never looked back.
How long did it take before you started playing like relatively high stakes?
For Czech or like in general?
Let's just convert to the dollar.
I pretty much played like high stakes in Czech in 3 months. I was like, I haven't known it back then, but I'm diagnosed with ADD, so I had like hard time to do things. And something just like click in poker. It was just it. I was just lose track of time. I was able to play like millions of hours, and it was like some passion which I was missing, I would say. So it was pretty quick there. And then I have like a loop of 3 years when I got completely lost, because I was like, you know, Mate, he just wrote a book, Trauma of the Gifted Child.
No. Sounds interesting though.
So pretty much what happened to me, I just started earning money very fast. But I was dumb, so I have I never had the money.
Yeah.
So what I gonna do with money? So like, at least in casino industry in Czech, I believe it's very similar in US. It's very connected to the nightlife. So we ended up a session and just go partying.
Yeah.
And it was like first time when I was introduced by drugs. I was like, let's go. So, and I haven't even like planned to play poker. I was it just happened. So I was still studying law, sitting every day in casino, winning everything which I want, just go for clubbing. So drugs, girls again. And yeah, somehow what happened that I dropped from school. I still grinding all the same stakes, clubbing very hard. I was like very tense relationship with my family back then because everybody in my family is doctors. So
wow, that's impressive.
So I'm the dumb one in the family.
Right.
Only one who haven't finished uni.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was very tense. My mom always every day just sent me new application for schools. And I was adult, so I couldn't handle that. So I had to do drugs and hiding in like dungeon of like shitty casinos.
Yeah.
So it took me, I don't know, roughly like 3 years to just get out of the loop. And I remember I was sitting very high on New Year's Eve and saying like, my schoolmates finishing all of the university, making decent money. I was like, you know, I'm here. I'm not happy. I'm like stuck in my spot. So let's do something reasonable. And I decided, all right, like since I'm probably pretty good in poker, just let's go all in poker.
So that would have been like 2016, 2017?
2015, yeah, maybe.
Oh, 2015? Okay. You still had a bankroll to work with at that point? Or had the club kind of...
Yes, yeah, a little bit. I was like twice on like a dry end, but never like...
Never broke.
Never stake, never do like anything like that.
So what stakes were you playing at this point then?
It was like 2-4 in dollars. It's like high stakes for Czech.
Yeah, of course.
You have to realize like Czech back then used to have like $800 average salary.
Yeah.
So like 2-4 was full of pros and it's considered like a high stakes, pretty rough. Yeah.
Right. When did you graduate then to like the 1020 upwards to 100, 200 that we're playing now in Vegas?
I don't know. A friend of mine I was actually grinding like 2-4 and some guy was like, we're flying to US. May I join you?
I hear they have drugs.
And parties.
So, and yeah, it was like Czech legend. He was like online guy, just doing everything right. I was like, all right, I'll ask my buddies because we maybe have a spot. So they just get back to me like in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, we have a spot. We're gonna be living like 4 guys in one hotel room. We're gonna saving for money and just gonna grind it out. And I met my first mentor, and he was amazing because like I used to do drugs, clubbing, and somehow be good in poker.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy did like everything else. You know, he like prepare, he do sports, he has like good bankroll management. I haven't known the word bankroll management.
Yeah.
You know, just making money. So I get to the stakes and somehow have like close buddy who just every day come to him and just ask him question, hey, what I should do, how I should do it, what I should do. And he always like reply me. And after 2 hours, when I felt like he's slightly annoyed, I stopped.
Right.
But next day in the morning again. And it's actually like very easy. I'm like a sponge. So if you find somebody who is gifted, they're going to give you information that's very easy to absorb.
Yeah.
Like this is just the concept and you kind of like understand it.
I'm similar. Like I hear things much better than read, write, or whatever.
So yeah, it was like 216, I guess. We landed in the US and I sit on 2-5 game, brought like 10K with me. And I couldn't believe my eyes, you know, like it was like 2-5, 6 old guys, youngest guy, money flying around, nobody good. I'm not saying I was good, but the understanding of like Czech high stakes, I was like, this is amazing.
Where did you come? Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. Like everything was blinking. It was like new world. I was like pretty thrilled of it and just grinding, sleeping. I also like lost the luggage. So I was like one sweatpants and just
Jesus.
So it was
you were the stinky Euro.
Nah, I just went to the outlet here and just bought everything new.
Yeah, because you got rich.
then not like sue, but apply to like flying company, because I still have a lawyer, you know. So like it's important to buy expensive shit and just sue, like not sue, like apply for British Airways.
Yeah.
So yeah, just start playing 2-5, and I pretty much like skyrocket, but it was like a combination of having a mentor and just game was pretty soft. So and it's gradually just rising.
From there, obviously, you returned to Czech.
Yeah, I returned to Czech. I couldn't believe what's happened here.
And at this point, like, you're still single. You're still like kind of in the middle of your career.
Yeah, no, I was still like slightly not like lost. I knew like I'm doing poker. I was just getting full into poker, and yeah, we just planned another trip because like friend of mine or a guy who I know was on the final table of Maine.
Okay.
So we just come here to support him.
Wait, who was it?
Ružička.
That was
16.
17? 16. Yeah.
And we wanna let's try LA. Somebody told me on the like a table here that LA is amazing. So we flew to LA. 5-10. I was like, all right, I'll take it slow.
That had to be something you had never seen before.
I was like, I'll take it slow. I'm gonna play 2-5, sit on 2-5. It's like bunch of idiots. Let's play 5-10. Then start losing, you know. And it was like, you know, I have like 15K with me. Lost like 7. Then you're very uncomfortable because it's like new stakes, a lot of money. It's like, yeah, let's stick to it. And yeah, I guess I was even, but just I couldn't believe it, and just planned another trip for 3 months and just start winning. And it was like, yeah.
So when did you turn the corner? That I mean, I guess like to set the stage a little bit, you guys don't really know Vlast as well as I do, but like you're a very well put together person now. Like you're in shape. You're into biohacking. I mean, you come to the fucking game with blue teeth, eating your goddamn methane blue or whatever the hell it is. All I hear is nootropic this, nootropic that. You know, you're married now with a baby. Obviously, you're playing upwards of 100, 200, so you're not still grinding out this 15K bankroll. Where did the corner turn, and when did like America become the place that like you aspired to be?
I would say like breaking here was like 2019. I was really struggling to get through 10-20 level. So I would like my first major downswing, I would say, was like 2018. I couldn't like break 10-20. I don't know why, but actually I don't know why, because back in the days it was just 10-20 was always with straddle. So like gap from 5-10 till 24 is like huge.
Yeah, big jump.
And also, you know, when you start playing like better racks, you feel like they're like amazing. So there is like back in your mind, there is like always doubting yourself.
This is how I feel when I play Euros. I like find out way after the fact that they suck. But like the second they sit down, like I see you and I'm just like, oh my God, this guy knows fucking everything. And I play with him for an hour and it's like, okay,
lost. But you know, like there is, if you listen in like the podcast with like other like the top players, they like, lots of them like struggling, just going up stakes.
Yeah.
I was bluff catching way too much.
Yeah, of course.
They never bluff.
But
I still always call, you know, like higher stakes, higher racks, better racks, so you just have to call.
Relatable.
It's very natural for like back in your mind, because if you're bluffing, you just see them.
Yeah.
And this is like by far my biggest leak. It still is. I'm thinking way too much with my mind. So I'm just projecting my mind to other people. It's very hard to get rid of it. Plus FPS, we can get like to more like what I'm doing wrong later on.
Yeah, sure.
But so yeah, I was like very struggling, lost like half of bankroll, and I hired my first coach. Or actually the guy who I start to travel hired a coach, because like somehow got better than him. And he hired a coach, and he got better. I was like, interesting, this is the way to go. So I hired a coach. And my results skyrocket. And the coach recommended me, hey, I have mindset coach. Like, interesting. Give me contact. So I contact the guy. And it started being like a snowball effect. It was like, yeah, let's start meditate a little bit. Then do a little bit of that. And somehow when you stop doing drugs and you start living healthy, my results also skyrocket. Who would guess?
Shocker, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. 2018, it started like slowly shifting, and I started changing my habits, and I start to love it. You know, like if you're waking up without hangover, no like dopamine gone because you do drugs 2 days straight, and you actually come to the table and you see things and everything is like clear.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was
I imagine, having gotten to know you a bit too, that you're kind of the type where if you have positive reinforcement from some sort of change, then you're like all in on it, right?
Oh yeah, it was like pretty fast. We also made like bunch of bets with buddies of mine, because I finally find like same like people who just love to work on things. And it was amazing. I used to have a bet for when you're eating some shit, you have to pay like, and we just multiply it for like $300. I remember I was on the date with a girl in Miami. I was calling my buddy, "Hey buddy, can I eat ice cream?" Because I could eat like once a week shit. I was like, ice cream. Ice cream doesn't count.
Yeah.
So I just call him. He pick up a phone. "Do you want to be fat?" And just hang out.
So that's proper accountability right there.
So I did bunch of bets. It was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So it like the shift wasn't like instant, but as you mentioned, you got positive reinforcement, and it's easy because you can like, especially for poker players, if you can relate it with results, it's very easy. And it's I started like bunch of like diarying and just start like noting that I actually felt great. You know, like somehow your body can get you to a different level. And I was very lucky in terms of COVID, this COVID outbreak. And I have nothing to do pretty much. I was realizing like I was drawing to casino in LA and there was like big sign like, "Hey, COVID." It's like, all right, if I want to be stuck somewhere, I want to be stuck in villa with pool. And just so flew to Mexico and be locked down in the place where I didn't know nobody. So there was like no drugs, no parties, nothing. I had a personal coach, so I started like training every day in the gym. So like from my small belly, it was somehow like a 6-pack. Then I started meditating more. I had like a meditation group, and somehow like the body exploded. So I learned language in like 2 months. I was reading faster. I was absorbing data faster. Everything was like amazing. I was like realizing, wow, this is actually possible. And once you realize this is like the potential of your body, you just never want to look like. You don't want to live like anything else. It's just like, it's amazing. This is you. And also, it's about mental models. Once you kind of like break your mind in like the steps, there is definitely some limiting beliefs. Once you just break it, and it's like a mammoth in the mind. We are like designed as a humans to be part of the group and never be very unique. It's biological for us.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we will be pushed out of the group and we will die.
Right.
It's not functional like last whatever like 50 years. So once you realize, oh, I can be different, you probably can relate it. For me, it was like very hard to go to society and do not drink, because all my body's drinking.
Especially from the culture you come from.
Yeah. So it was like that was very hard. But once you start doing it, then I also moved my schedule to the early one, and I felt amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't believe it. So I don't know. I was blogging about it and I was like, yeah, this is it, and just trying to get back to the Mexico level, because now it's like everything way more complicated.
Right.
I'm currently grinding the toughest spot of my life, which is marriage with a kid.
I think that you really frame out a lot of things that I have a lot of deep beliefs in. And when I knew that we were having you on today, I kind of wanted to create the show around this notion of simplification and complexity. And I think that you did a great job of articulating what I was like trying to get across earlier, in the sense that in order to find simplification, you actually have to acknowledge the complexity itself first and foremost, and then kind of break it down into step by step, right? So like when you're talking about breaking out of these mental models, that's a very complex thing, right? Like our minds are very complicated things that kind of present very simply. You know, it's just like, oh, well, blend in, be protected, be a part of the herd, yada, yada, yada. That's a very simple outcome. But when you strip that down to the nuance, it's very complex. Like the things that are driving that, how necessary are they in today's society? Do we perform better if we get outside of that mental model? And then when you start to build out these protocols that say like, actually, I can achieve more if I invest in this aspect of my life. If I, you know, kind of get away from the herd and pursue a path that is maybe a little bit more resistant, but one that's not really chosen very often and has a more fruitful outcome. These are all things that I think, you know, inherently just apply to poker too. Like, I don't know what your experience was whenever you started to get coaching and when you started to try to jump stakes and everything else, but like a simplification of like, they never bluff, therefore don't bluff catch is another good way to torch money. Because though that's mostly true, it's also incredibly incorrect to the game that you're playing in general, right? Like, if you find yourself never calling, then obviously now you're very exploitable because you just fold too much, right? So it's about digging into the nuance of that simplification. It's more of a guide. I'm not going to be somebody who calls a lot in game because they just don't bluff enough. So how do I shift that? Well, it doesn't mean that you check fold more often. It means that you massively increase your aggression factor, right? You take the betting lead a lot more often. You force them to play check call because you do bluff enough, right? And these are ways of creating complexity within the simplification that allows you to be in the position of power and putting everybody else on their heels because they adhere to that same model where they're just like, oh, nobody bluffs here. I just check fold a lot. Well, guess what? Now you red line. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does, yeah. I would say in general, what people do like very wrong in poker, they just understand it's, let's say, same as business. So it apply the same concept. So just see it as like a bigger picture and just finding the leads, it's always good. But yeah, to just make like a huge adjustment, you need to understand what's happening. So yeah, you definitely need to understand like bigger complexes.
Yeah, I think that's often where, and again, it protects the game, right? Like people not understanding this, you're just always going to see that 2-5 game full of 6 old dudes that gives you hope and opportunity as a young up and comer because you can just stand over for 5 hands and go, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. But when it comes to progressing and, you know, finding good mentorship, finding good coaching, whatever the case may be, you really do have to strip yourself down kind of as you spoke about in your process. And you have to kind of align yourself with a whole new objective, right? You have to have some sort of purpose behind the things that you do. And I know you mentioned that like you're in the toughest grind of your life now with marriage and a kid. But even outside of that, I imagine poker also itself presents a lot of new challenges because that first time you flip the script and you kind of turn the page from a party boy who's just acting or reacting to the environment and is a little bit better than everybody else around him and allows him to make money to having a dedicated purpose of I'm going to live healthy, I'm going to study, I'm going to play very disciplined and all this other stuff. Well, the response there is going to be magnitudes more than if you apply the same framework now, right? Like you're just not going to have the same leap from I was a break-even player to I'm making 10 big blinds an hour. Now it's more so going to be like, well, you know, maybe I can add a half big blind edge here or there if I stick to my guns and add a little bit more nuance.
Oh yeah, I agree. I really like what you mentioned. I would say what people missing mostly, you really need to love the game to be really good at it.
Yeah.
So, because it's like a compound effect. You have to master so many small things.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a tattoo of it that I have to improve like every day. To just have a reminder. I used to have it on the wall. So I perceive it, yeah, it's like a compound. So you're going to get a little bit better there. Because I realize that, you know, like getting better in technical things, it's really rough. Like everybody's decent to a certain degree. Like, maybe they underbluffing. Maybe there is like a concept. We can increase it and you can just...
But without data, it's tough to know.
It's tough to know, but on the other hand, just come to the poker table and everybody's on the phone. I was like, dude, you know, like how much you missing?
Yeah.
You can be like toughest player in the world, but especially now if you like study focus, how is apply and how is the scatter mind, you're fucking making mistakes. There's like a study, I believe it's from Harvard from 2010. They do like the multitasking studying.
Mm-hmm.
And people was making who was doing 2 stuff together, like 40% more mistakes. So let's say you're a genius poker player and I'm decent for a stake. How much you making more than I do? 10%, 15?
Right.
At max.
Yeah.
Like if you're crushing me 15%, you're a goat.
Yeah.
But if you're on the phone, you're 40% more prone to the error. So what I need to do, just not using phone. I'm better than you.
Right.
And just realizing that one, I was like, that was huge. Also, when you start eating clean, we can get to the pills and everything, which like combined, like when I was doing workshops for like management, like lawyers and management of like a higher management about how to focus. Like everybody was like very interesting. Hey buddy, which supplements we should take? I was like, sleep, workout, eat clean. But yeah, back to the poker. It needs to be like compound. So when you start to master in this one, it just skyrocket. And especially in live poker, I believe like the huge edge is just be healthy, be focused, and just working on it, and just
Yeah, I like the way you framed it. It's less about it's less about achieving your ceiling, and it's much more about raising your floor, right? So if you're continually progressing in some sort of capacity, now when you fail, you regress back to a much higher mean than you previously were failing towards, right? So it gives you a level of protection. I think that's what everybody seeks. Whenever they fall into these simplifications because they're looking for an answer, so to speak, right? Like, oh, you have 10 big blinds, you should shove these hands. That's an answer. And everybody desperately craves that for every single spot in poker, and it just doesn't exist, right? So those that are a little bit more adept, they will just create, protocols that they can regress to. And it's like, well, when in doubt, I know this, so therefore I'll do that type of stuff. I think that is what allows you to be secure enough to start taking a lot of risk. And the situation that you're currently in, where you're in the visa protocol, you're trying to become an American full-time, you're a full-time poker player, you're married with a kid, you're risking more than the average 30-something who's playing for a living, but you're also doing it for much higher stakes, where if you fail, where you land is so far beyond like where the guy who's at 1-3 or 2-5 trying to get a start lands if he fails. You know what I mean? Like, they have to literally start from scratch, where you already have all this foundation built.
Yeah, but also you have a kid, so it's actually like a kid like brought like extra layer of stress.
Yeah,
I never have it. I used to jump bungee. I was like racing cars. I got overdose on drugs, ended in hospital. Like, I was like fearless. Now with a kid, I have like back in my mind like, what if?
Yeah.
Shouldn't do it. There's like an extra doubt.
Yeah, been a lot less ace 5 bet jams out of you. Really sad.
I did recently.
Yeah, really sad.
I snap aces. Like, I felt like, fuck again. I was like, why did it to myself? Like, they never bluffing. And
that makes it way worse too when people are stacking off with jacks.
Yeah.
It's like, these are hands you're supposed to put pressure on.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, for the layers, I would say like framing my own mind was like a game changer. So I currently doing like a therapist for last year. It was a huge shift. It just showed me so many mental models. Copycatting my mom mental models, which I thought like way far of it. So there is like insane amount what's happening in your mind. You just get it. So like family, it's new one. There is like an expectation level of what you should, what you shouldn't. I also like run a business, doing like a classes about concentration. So there's like extra what you should be, what you shouldn't be. So like the landing spot, it's definitely gonna be different, because like a poker taught me I can believe in myself. Like I believe in progress. I believe I can learn everything. So this was the biggest shift when you like break it and you can do it. On the other hand, I also got used to like very good life. So just landing spot now, just, I don't know, maybe just going to regular work and not be with a kid would be like very rough.
Yeah, I think that's the next question to pose though. So it's like, there's a lot of uncertainty that you're dealing with. Is there still a pool to get out of poker? Like, what's the short term and what's the long term projection here? Whether or not you end up becoming a citizen is probably a big consideration too, or get a visa, I should say.
I left poker for 2 years. I was just trying to run a business. It was the society tells you, hey, you're really good at poker, you could do something else.
Yeah.
Especially my background. So I opened a bar. I did education classes. And something was missing. So like deep down, I was like, I don't know, what is it? I was on my first company meeting, and my boss was talking bullshit. I was like, well, I'm sitting here. Doesn't make any sense. I just want to be free.
Yeah.
So leaving poker, I don't know. I'm like recently I just came back, so I realized I love poker. I was talking to one buddy of mine. He was saying, hey, I run the same issue, I run a business. But I finally found what I love. Almost nobody can say they love what they do. I really can say I love what I do. So like leaving poker, I don't know. I really love it. So that's very difficult one. I thought like gonna be leaving pretty soon. I already actually like I was thinking I'll be already gone. I left and I don't know, missing poker. So yeah, it's gonna be rough leaving poker.
Does you getting a work visa here alter that at all? Like, what if they say no? Does that restrict the amount of poker you can play?
It's definitely limited me in terms of grinding in US.
Because it's what, 6 months a year?
Yeah. So, I mean, technically depending, it's like I don't want to get deep dive in like legal stuff.
Yeah.
So I would be probably like playing online, which would means I would need to shift to MTTs because there is no action in Europe, and I guess so. Or I'll be finally doing like a coachings of concentration. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, I guess I would figure it out. But it would be like unpleasant then.
But obviously, it's a lot better if you could just stay.
Oh, I love Americans.
I quickly went from I love America to I love Americans.
Well, we're all here for a reason, buddy. It's not an accident that everybody in this room chose Vegas.
Yep.
Have you traveled much around America? And if so, like, did you play much while you were going coast to coast?
I played in Miami, LA. That was it. Austin.
All the good spots.
Yeah.
All the hotbeds.
I mean, why I should travel to a shitty one?
Yep.
That's true. Well, have you been to other have you been to New York City and?
I mean, I've been there to travel.
That's what I mean. Like, have you seen the States?
Oh yeah, but mostly for me when I'm here, I just feel like I have like still my FOMO. Every day which I'm not sitting in casino, like my mind is like, like the DuckTales when there is like dollars in the eyes.
Yeah.
Just running away from me. So I'm traveling a bunch when I'm in Europe. So like in US, I'm traveling slightly less. But currently with wifey, it's different because she's slightly bored at home. So it's like, let's do something. Let's go somewhere.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Feel something.
Yeah, what was I gonna say about that? Travel. Shit, I lost my train of thought. I don't know. Do you guys have a question while I try to gather what the hell I was trying to think about?
I'm drawing blank. Sorry, puppy.
Where was your favorite place to play out of those 4 spots? Where do you think action was the best?
I mean, it's depending for the stage of your career.
So let's say, I guess you were playing 10-20 everywhere, right?
I don't know. I haven't played much. Actually, I played recently a decent amount, but I would say it has to be some new spot. So it has to be the spot which other people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like New Texas probably would be like great when it's open.
Is Oaken actually the biggest nit that you play with?
Actually, like he tricked me. He tricked me because like when I landed, like my first high stakes session, Oaken was sitting there. He was playing 40 hours. Looks like whale, just playing pretty wide. Then I start playing with him on a regular basis in bobbies and do a few call downs. Then I have like a favorite spot, like it's Bellagio Nord Valley when I'm punting, feeling like very, I don't know, obnoxious something. It's mostly like tilting walk and when like either way calling too much or bluffing too much. This is like my 2 standard spots. So I'm walking there around. So I called on Brian like a few times and felt like, I need to change my opinion on him.
He sent you on a steam walk.
Yeah,
I've been on many of those. I remember what I was going to ask you now. Let's talk a little bit about the high stakes scene, especially the private scene, because let's be clear. We have a running joke here at the Only Friends podcast. We refer to people like yourself as Sven. And Sven, generally not very welcome when it comes to the optics of a good game, right? Like, you look like every Northern European, even though you're from Eastern Europe, that sits in a game and doesn't give anyone a chance. Now, I will say, like, you don't do a lot of the bad things that some are accustomed to, like wearing sunglasses, covering your face.
Yeah, you wear a scarf when you play.
You don't wear a scarf. You don't play super slow. You actually play remarkably fast, for what it's worth. You're relatively chatty. But talk to me a little bit about what it was like trying to break into the high stakes scene, especially when you realized that it was kind of private and there was a lot of soft skills that were going to be necessary to get seats.
I mean, it was like clearly rough because like I got to the high stakes when it was public. So like getting to high stakes when it's public, it's require different skills. You just need to be good.
Right. Yeah.
But everything which means good, it's actually like very bad for like private. So just having good it's actually like an obstacle, I would say.
Right.
So I even like ran my ChatGPT models like how to be more social, what I should do, what should I better, and I actually like probably like I don't see like a lot just don't study. Like if you're gonna be like too good, they don't want to do it. So I was like more working on like a social skill. So actually like be really chatty, play fast, create good action. So there's like certain spots which you always can take, and it's never gonna hurt you. It spikes up your variance crazy high.
Yeah.
So like all this.
I'm very much of it. Like great example is just like doesn't matter how deep you are, you can just always be all in with ace king, and like it's just not gonna hurt you, but like it's going to optically appear like you're a big action guy whenever you're 6-betting, you know, in a game that like just doesn't have 6 bets. It's like, sure, maybe you're losing some EV versus like some people, but it's like, you know, if you're putting in 100, 150 big blinds with ace king pre, like whatever, you know.
I'm say guy, I'm just have ace 5, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
so you can definitely like spike up some spots. So I was trying not to be precise. I'm trying to play very fast, be very chatty. Sports always helps. So I create my love for NBA and just actually like watching NBA. It's because it's like a great topic.
I think the first two are very notable for what it's worth. Like I don't think anybody that plays with you categorizes you as like the typical slow, quiet Euro who's just like raking money out of the game. You're very, very fast, and it's clear you're not trying to be precise, which I agree with both of those things. I think that those are integral parts of being in the private game. It doesn't mean you can't be good, but like I talk about this a lot with Landon, especially because he's on the MTT side of things. I was like, you know, a lot of what you and your friends, there's a reason I don't really jump into these study groups, because you guys are so hyper focused on precision. You know, you're so interested in not where the cutoff is to be able to make a play, but like literally at what frequency we can get away with this type of thing. And you know, I hear them get into fights over whether they should be like 2.2xing versus 2.25. And it's just like, we're in our game where it's just like, yeah, I think I can open for 9x here. You know, big blind defends a little bit too loose, kind of fuck it type of thing. And that's always been my stance to poker. I'm not a very detail oriented guy, not in the sense that I don't observe them, because that would go against my previous notion of like nuance matters, but more so in the sense that like I don't care to scrutinize them. I'm not the type of person who's just going to you know, be bulletproof when you strip it down to the
You're macro, not micro.
Exactly. Yeah. When you get down to the most micro level, I'm going to be insanely exploitable, insanely flawed, but you know, you're playing a very slow version of poker where I don't think the micro matters much. It's just getting the macro points checked off and ensure that, like, you know, you're not punting in those spots.
Actually, when you mentioned MTTs, I played MTTs recently, and I felt like I'm so fucking rusty. Like, this is like when you play really fast, and it doesn't matter that much. You create like a bad habits, which it could be like plus in private, because as we mentioned, I was actually like framing myself and doing like a vision board what I should do to be really likable. So like I don't want to be precise. I need to play fast. I actually should be losing now and then.
Yeah.
So you can spike up variance. You can be very chatty. You can create topics. You're creating bonds. You can actually work on it. And mostly,
get rid of the blue teeth.
Yeah, bringing some value if you can.
What is this blue teeth?
It's metal blue. It's actually funny how dumb am I. Because there was like a label. I never read labels. So it's metal and blue. It's increased focus. It's very discussed now in like biohacking circles, but it was a pill. My sleeping coach recommended me to it, and you put it under the tongue, and your mouth become like completely blue. It's really good for focus.
Yeah, looks like literally you just sucked off a Smurf.
But you look like idiot. You look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And there was like a line 2, or you can swallow it. But I never get to the line 2.
So yeah, you don't have to like dissolve it. I mean, there's many ways you can dissolve it in water and just drink it. You could just swallow it whole, or you can dissolve it on the tongue. So for like an entire summer, he's just dissolving it under his tongue, and he's coming like looking like I don't know, something was wrong. the problem isn't that he looks ridiculous. Obviously, that's fun for us regs. We get to joke about it. But the issue is that like he's already European. He already presents in a certain way, and now he's showing up with a blue fucking mouth.
Right.
So it just like signals to recreationals that like this guy's scary.
Right.
Literally scary. I mean, he smiles at you, and his fucking teeth are purple.
What was the candy? Gushers? Was it Gushers?
Gushers, yeah.
You make your mouth turn.
Way back.
Yeah.
That was like when we were 11.
I also add the clown nose to it. So I just play clown nose and blue mouth. So
Sure.
just somehow combine it. Don't be like complete idiot.
Always balanced. Yeah.
Yep.
No. It's like for the private, it's just actually be normal. I would say it's very big. Like
tough for you for sure.
Yeah. Clearly, I have like ADD symptoms. Actually, I'm diagnosed with ADD by DNA testing. I'm a little bit of spectrum of autism. It's very good for certain things like thinking, other things that just being normal. Honestly, a very successful friend of mine saying like being normal sucks. Like, if you want to be normal, you suck.
Yeah.
In general, so yeah, it's rough. It took me, I would say, at least like a year and a half or like to just adjust to new meta of the private.
Right, yeah.
So what I should do, I was like actually like brainstorming like very hard, like what is actually reasonable to do.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal because I do know there's a lot of spots that you kind of get shut out of just because of what you physically represent. Like there are definitely situations where I'm like, man, I would give Vlast the seat over this guy. And a lot of people would just be like, optically, it's like not as good. You know, if we have Vlast sitting here, we're less likely to get walk-ins. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong in game. You know, there are a lot of people doing things wrong in game that I think should be ejected immediately. But they look more welcoming. You know, they look fishy.
Yeah, I know. I like. There was like certain things where it was like I was like drawing line what I'm able to do. So I'm able like every bullshit possible. So I can dance, I can do like handstands if they want to.
Sure.
I can dress up like an idiot, but I don't want to drink in the game, which is the thing which actually really help if you're just drinking.
Yeah.
But I would kind of like losing myself. So.
Yeah. At some point I think you do have to draw a line. Like there's only so much you can do to change, and make yourself accommodating.
Yeah,
what two words do you think I put together there? Anyway,
nobody can help you there.
Only I know. I'll shake it out at some point. But yeah, there's only so many sacrifices you can make, and I think you've done a great job of that for what it's worth. Like,
so you can always let's say you can always show bluff. You can actually like.
I hate that though when nits do it. Like when Ralph windmills a bluff, I know it's just for show. You know, it's just to like rib somebody in the game kind of thing. It's like, oh, come on, man. Like that's the one a week that we're going to get to see kind of thing.
That's everybody in the lower stakes, right?
Yeah.
It's just because nobody bluffs.
And I shouldn't call it Ralph because like Oaken's way more guilty of this.
I remember like the guy was like the biggest net in the table and was somehow like bluffing these 3 big BB spots and just look bluff.
Yeah.
600 BB in.
Stone nuts.
I was like, I'll be bluffing this. Was like, sure, dude.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know. You can do something. You can obviously from theory standpoint you can adjust. So you can always 3-bet every king exude and it's gonna be fine because we're playing 7 deuce game.
Yeah.
So it's never gonna be bad, and you can actually literally play like a monkey. And on the other hand, I have to admit I like it.
Of course. So, imagine playing like I mean that's my like if I had to play, it's not that I can't play theoretically sound and technical. I don't fucking want to, man. Right. It's so boring. Shitty.
Yeah. And it's so much fun. So I kind of like certain aspect of it because like we are again in the reinforcement. So if you're playing like a consciously or like a monkey, it's really good, really hard to go back to like really precise poker. It's like almost impossible.
Yeah.
And if you spike up whatever, like adrenaline, we can get like, I'm mostly playing half high, whatever it is, then everything spikes up. So it's like hard to go back.
Yeah.
This is one thing I can play high. If it's play people happy, this is what I can do for people.
Right. Yeah. So this is like your new extreme sport.
Yeah.
This is where you get your rush now.
Yeah. So like, it's so much fun and it's good for a game. So yeah, let's go. That's the point of it. So we can always 3-bet everything, 4-bet, click, be very random.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, I started playing poker with like pre-solver era. So I'm really good in clicking buttons.
As everybody from that era kind of is.
So when you're getting to the spots and just actually like divide it from like a theory standpoint, you may be losing like 1 BB here or like half BB there. But you can see like whatever, like stand-up game, 7 deuce game. Like people are so off. So if you get into the trees when they have no idea, it's amazing and it's fun. It's a rush. It's occasionally like also less fun if you like punted like 400 BB spots and they're gonna call you with bottom pair and there is like a North Valley steam walk twice. I remember back in the days in LA there was a park log and I was going and the security guard like saw me like 4 times in the day and I looked like some weird European like a Russian stealer or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They stopped me that I'm like doing observation for a gang to stealing cars.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because I've been there so often that
just
day.
Casing the joint.
It's like, I'm just punting,
Just trying to walk it off, baby. That's all. Well, speaking of playing, I know that there's a ton of action at Bellagio today, and we got to get you there. I'm also on the list to get going too. So we're gonna wrap this up. Appreciate you joining us, Vlast.
Oh, being pleasure, man.
Always nice to get a little geographical insight as to where,
Don't forget to mention that you invite me here because you're buying me plush toys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that I totally left that story out. It's such a great story. I had held over Vlast for the better part of a year and was just winning every time we were in a big pot. So when he had his kid, he made me make a promise that for every 100,000 I beat him out of, I have to buy him a plush toy dragon.
That's fair.
So he's got a green one and a red one.
All right.
And I got a purple one in my Amazon shopping cart. It's just fucking ready to go.
Please don't. I love dragons. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons as a kid forever.
Yeah.
And I have to say, my son loved the red dragon, sleeping with him every day. So it's like painful. I come here and it's like 100K. And he's just hugging him. And it's like, enjoy, brother.
That's incredible. As he gets older, I'll advance the toy giving. Maybe we'll get him his like first little
guys,
go-kart.
if you want to get the invite to the podcast, just lose a few times 100K to Matt, and you're here.
Yeah, no problem. I got you lined up. Oh man, great story. I completely forgot about that. It was great. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. I believe we're going to be at noon again starting on Monday. So we'll see you guys all then.
All right, take care, guys.
Peace.